Hi, Kevin. Nice to meet you. I am Brandy Hinnant-Crawford, and I want to thank you for being willing to review my course. I was talking to the people in IT, and they said it would be kind of difficult to put you in the course, since you're not um at Clemson. So I'm going to just kind of walk you through my course shell, and then I've provided on through Google Drive the different slides I've used, syllabi, some student work samples, um, and I can share anything else that you are interested in. I did want to go over a couple of things. Like I said, I'm gonna walk you through my Canvas shell, which is not the sexiest canvas in the world. Um, but just to show you a little bit about how I communicate with students and whatnot. And I wanted just to tell you a little bit about how I have redesigned this course. And so I'll start with redesign. And let's see, I thought the redesign thing was open, but it's not. So let's see. File, open recent. Let me share my screen. That would probably be very helpful. Uh, so this is, I'm not gonna like present this like a slideshow or anything, but this is how the course was redesigned. Oh, that's looking so weird. Um, anyways, when I started here, the EDD program had been redesigned, and we had 22 graduates at that time. Um, Almost three-quarters of the dissertations in practice were qualitative case studies, even though they were supposed to be improvement science dissertations in practice. And so while this was not a snub in any way on qualitative research, I thought maybe the way we taught quantitative methods should be kind of revised. Also, when I looked at the dissertations that had been completed, only 18.2% had a system of measures that included process and outcome measures and balancing measures. And so my aim, I did a real improvement project on my course, was to increase the number of students who are using a system of measures and who track data over time in their dissertations. And so this is like my improvement team. It's basically the faculty and my GA. Here was kind of my theory of improvement. All of this is in Google Drive. And I was looking at, what I had control over, and I taught quantitative methods. And so I really decided to focus in on the content of the course, and really adding more kind of improvement content, um, and allowing some flexibility over the analyses that people use. I will say, when I first taught the course, I did not realize I just taught it as a stats course, like inferential one. And then I realized it was not only supposed to be the stats course, it was also research design. So I had to come back and redesign it so that I really hit research design as well as the statistical content. And so here's how the course was set up in 2023, which was my first year teaching it. In 2024, kind of my main change idea was to have students create an analytical portfolio where they had some choice in which analyses they did. Um, and one of the analyses they had to use, or they had to include a run chart within the analytic portfolio. I also have what I call dip anchors, which are little assignments throughout the course that tie what we're doing exactly to the dissertation in practice so that there's not a disconnect. And then last but not least, I changed the text. I had been teaching using statistics to make educational decisions, but I switched it to a research design and statistics book where they put the design next to the stats. And then I also use the healthcare data guide. The only change between 2024 in 2025 is now in the analytic portfolio. I also make them design an instrument and pilot that. And so here are kind of my measures throughout this improvement project, my measurement tree. This is super hard to see, but I have an intake and an exit survey. The intake and exit survey uses an established scale to look at statistical efficacy, like how they feel about it. And then I also have just some plain old right or wrong questions about, what analysis would you use for this particular thing? And what can a short chart tell you? What can a run chart tell you? And I also do something called this DIP status tracker, which they complete multiple times throughout the semester. You see, they just say yes or no, but it asks really simple questions like, have you determined your problem of practice? Do you know what your outcome measures are going to be? Do you know how you're going to analyze your outcome measures? With the hope being that by the end of this course, they have more yeses than nos. And so here's what happened my first time teaching it. These are pictures of my stats labs, which is when I invite folks to come. I do them across the state because our students are all over the state to meet me in person as we go through and work on their analytic portfolios. So here's a DIP tracker for 2024, looking at a system of measures, outcome measures, process measures, and so on, and how many people have that over the course of the time they're in the course. So you can see at baseline in mid-January, it was pretty low, but by the end of the semester, it moved up a bit. For 2024, I didn't do the statistical knowledge. I just did the statistical efficacy, and you can see a significant shift from baseline to at the end of the course. And so then I checked the AIM, looking again at our graduates, even though, of course, the students taking the class are not the students graduating, but there had been an increase in students who had a family of measures and track data over time. Okay, so then 2025, this is the group I just finished teaching, and this is their course shell I'm going to walk you through. When you look at statistical knowledge, there was growth and there was a significant difference. As well as, again, with the statistical efficacy, also a significant difference. And then I did run charts for each of the key pieces I was looking at on the DIP tracker. And so looking at growth and outcome measures, process measures, knowing how they're going to collect their data, having a plan for analyzing and displaying their data, um, process and outcome and balancing, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to kind of show that's kind of what I've been working on with the class. I'm going to close that. Now I'm going to actually show you my Canvas shell. So this is the course. The course is complete right now. When you come in, I just have, basic info. One of the things I wanted you to see is my announcements, because I kind of have these weekly announcements to let folks know what's happening. I should say that our courses last for 8 weeks, and so they are pretty fast-paced. I do have face-to-face meetings, um, and then I also have, like I said, the stats labs, and so you can see that in my announcements, I'm talking about all of the things. So just telling people where to go, so on and so forth. Um, but when you go to the modules, which is kind of where all the meat is, I provide, well, one of the things they do is a research paper presentation. And so those are there. And I have all of these video links to mini lectures. So when we're in class, it's definitely a lot less lecture. I wouldn't call it exactly a flipped classroom, but so for my intro to quant research design, they would watch that video in Kaltura before coming to class. And they would also have most, there's this big bucket effect besides the slides. Use the right methods. Is the difference we're seeing in, let's say, achievement or some type. But you can see, let me go back. That all of those are there. So here's one on experimental design. You establish that baseline, you do the design, a sample. Those are really different than the equivalent time series, another part, then a repeated measure. I know you don't need or care to watch all of those, but I did want you to know that they were there. I have similar videos for the how to run things in SPSS. So for instance, I did, what is it called? Quality Matters. And they say, people really don't want to hear anything longer than 5 minutes. So I break everything up into really small bite-sized videos. So like here's the independent samples t-test. And culture. Plus comparison me, but now we're not doing overall teaching white folks. That's going to be estimate our effect sizes. So with rows here. Okay. Also, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? So of course I have the readings and whatnot laid out by week. I also used something I created for an organization in the class just to kind of go over measurement for improvement. And so while I made this, for an external org, I also shared it with the class. Hi, I'm Brandy Hinnant-Crawford, and I'm going to talk to you for a moment about measurement for learning, also known as measurement for improvement. So yeah, that's kind of the big pieces. And then when you go to assignments, I don't have a lot of assignments. The major assignments are the dip anchors, the problem and purpose statement, the research design presentation, and the analytic portfolio. For the dip anchors, with the exception of anchor 3, they were done on Padlet. And so I'm gonna show you my Padlet real quick. Oh, not sign up, sign in. Continue. Sorry. Close. Where's my gallery? Nope, home. Made by me. Okay. So here it is, 9330. And it's what I like Padlet is it kind of reminds me of Facebook a little bit. Because people can scroll and make different comments. So I begin with my problem statement and purpose statement, and so everyone else adds their problem and purpose statement and a photo. That's how we jump off the beginning of class. And then people will post for their first dip anchor, their theory of improvement. And then the second dip anchor is a theory of improvement with proposed measures. And not only proposed measures, but also identifying what the level of measurement is for each of those measures so we can begin to think about how to analyze them. So that's just an overview of the class. I know I've talked way too long, but I just wanted to kind of orient you to some of the materials you'll have here. So again, thank you so much.